how do people come to the conclusion of targeting certain individuals? Like, how does that happen? You know,
I have no clue.
Is it by purchasing stuff online that they?
I don't know, but when we're talking about the industrial sabotaging that's been going on, they've been targeting certain industries, and I know the healthcare industry and hospitals and clinics, like you were saying, have been targeted across the country. In fact, when I had heard about our local hospital that was targeted, I was in Washington that day, and I was talking to some other members, and there were 3 other districts in the country that had their hospitals targeted as well.
Wow. Well, they know it's lucrative, right?
Very, very
so
lucrative.
They hit companies that are lucrative, right? And they're susceptible that want it fixed right away.
Yeah, if it's impacting the lives of people, right? You're gonna
At all costs?
Yeah.
At all costs.
Wow.
And when they wipe your accounts out, like, you have to move quick.
Yeah.
Right? The bills don't stop.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Immediately.
And the banks were able to make that right. They were able to get it back.
Some banks did. Lone Star was one of them that made them whole.
Wow.
So kudos to Lone Star, for
Yeah.
taking care of its people. Yeah.
That's crazy.
It was big money. It was really big money.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad everything got, put
Everything
back
got
into
settled,
place.
and then it happened again.
And then it happened again.
Last week.
Wow.
They're currently dealing through that. This time, though, they didn't. They made sure that they logged into all their bank accounts and closed them. They closed all their bank accounts, and so right now they're just dealing with the information for the clinic itself and patient information. But at least their money's locked up.
Lone Star's pretty good at the whole security system that they have, especially with like us. We bank with Lone Star, right? Our organization does. Anything that goes through, I automatically get a notification. Automatically, everything. It doesn't matter. Like if we're doing a promotion for a certain event or something, if it doesn't matter if it's a $50 promotion or a $100 promotion on Facebook, we automatically get notified, and they're asking us if we're the ones doing this.
Right.
So
That's the way they protect themselves, so they don't have to pay the claim.
Right.
So
Of course. They learn also, yeah.
Credit card companies are really, really good at it as well. But the banking industry, I think, has made heavy investments up front because they realize most of the time when that happens, they're liable. So they've really gone in heavy, and hopefully we can eliminate these hits at some point.
Wow.
Yeah. So let's get down
Kind
to
of a big
business.
deal.
Let's get down to business. Mr. Congressman, so many questions, so many unanswered questions. But thank you again. It's truly an honor for you to make the time
Definitely.
for little old South Texas
We're
STBA.
always happy to be here.
You're great, man. A lot of the organization is split, right? Either they go red, they go blue, and stuff like that. But I'm a pretty conservative dude, and you are a Democrat. But I'll tell you this. The conversations we've had, I mean, you really are for South Texas, right? And that's just my point of view. This is in no way, shape, or form the view of STBA, but I want to commend you for the stuff you've done for South Texas personally. You're a gun owner. You're for guns. You are for the right people. I mean, you are doing the right thing for the people in South Texas, but in our industry, we're facing an affordability crisis. Housing is extremely expensive. It starts with the infrastructure, and it goes up to materials, and then goes up to labor, right?
You're right. It's a crunch.
We fully understand that there is a chokehold on every piece of having a consumer buy a house, and
So
it
you
ends
have-
with
you
lending.
have you have tariffs affecting you. You have a workforce shortage affecting you, especially these days, right? They're picking people up at job sites across the country, which is crunching our workforce that we already have. Before any of that, we had 6 million job openings across America that we didn't have a labor force to fill, which we still don't, right? And now we have TPS being removed, and you have a lot of people being removed out of the country from job sites. I'm not talking about criminals. I think criminals should be removed out of the country. But now we have folks being taken from construction job sites and places that put even a further crunch on the labor market that we're dealing with. And then we have the inventory shortage that we've been dealing with from COVID across the country, depending where you are in the United States, across the country. And at the end of the day, it's put a lot of pressure on prices, right?
Well, let's focus on South Texas. I know we don't have a shortage right now. So let's get that straight real quick. We don't have a shortage. from my vendors, and you guys can correct me, tariffs have not impacted us yet.
Right.
Not in the housing, maybe commercial.
Yeah.
This is just housing. But
it takes a few months also.
Yeah, we need immigration reform immediately, right?
Yeah,
that's
for
one
sure.
thing that we need to hit, immigration reform. And when they're picking up these people, from what I've heard is let's say they target, they're there to pick up one person, but then you have collateral damage. Hey, you get over here. I want to see you, right? And that's what's happening. But what they don't understand, and I'm all for people that are not supposed to be here, not to be here. Who's going to be working the fields? Who's going to be working the construction sites? It's hot out there, bro.
Yeah, we need a guest worker program, a robust guest worker program that allows people to come in for 9 months or a year at a time, and have them come in on a rotationary basis. And after 3 or 4 or 5 years, that you know who they are, they've been here, they've been good actors, they've been good community members. Then you can give them a more permanent status. And eventually attract potentially to citizenship. Many of them don't want to. Many folks come to this country, want to work and go home, and we should have more of those visas available. We don't have near as many as we used to back in the 50s during the Bracero program. People are still asking for those type of visas in this country. We have a labor shortage. They need work. I've been advocating for that for a long time. In fact, I believe 90%, 80% of the asylum seekers who come to our country, first of all, never ever get approved for asylum under the asylum laws that are here now. They're economic migration that we're receiving, and they're really looking for jobs. And I have a bill called the Safe Zone Act that created safe zones in Guatemala and Panama, potentially El Salvador, for people who were trying to come to the United States to be able to process their claims at that juncture. And I would love for them to be able to apply and say, hey, I'm a plumber, I do farm work, and you know who they are and where they're coming from and where they're going, and you can keep track of them. We should have a system that's much more organized and also know where the demand is. Like we have a labor demand for construction in Texas, but we have a labor demand for agriculture in Idaho. We have a labor demand for fishermen in Alaska, or even here. We have a shortage of labor for our fishermen, and that you can process them through embassies and consulates around the world, and know what kind of work they do, who they are, do a little background check on them, and send them up, and have an employer that's going to receive them and put them to work, and write a report on them and say, hey, this guy was great, or this guy was not so bad, and kind of grade them and be able to keep the best of the very best. And we don't have to reinvent the system because it already exists. First of all, we did it in the 50s, but Canada is doing it today. And you could call it merit-based if you want. Merit-based, you don't have to be a scientist. Merit-based could be, we need farm workers because Americans are not doing that kind of work. I don't care what color they are. Mm-hmm. That's just a fact.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
and there's actually things going on right now, but it's focused on areas of shortage that are academically inclined. For example, there are currently visas right now, like if you want to get an engineer, if you want to get some scientists. I get it. Yeah. I mean, it's already invented, right? So then why don't you just make a little, it's not that easy, right? To get the people to start working on it, to implement a side for labor. Hard labor is hard. Is the word.
It's hard.
It's in the wording. Right?
And Americans have gotten soft over the years, and we're not doing the hard labor as much as we did.
Or
anymore.
you know what? I disagree. I think we're hard, but we don't want to get paid the wages that are given to these individuals, because at the end of the day, the consumer's going to pay it.
Yeah, but even at $15 an hour, and I can tell you because I have some farmers in my district that they were advertising at $15 an hour, and there were no takers here locally. Yeah. This is here just right up north of us.
Congressman,
a little bit.
You got humidity levels at 90%. You got direct heat at 100. No one's going to want to do it for $15.
Americans are not going to want to do it at $15.
No le entran.
No
way.
Nope.
And a lot of overtime.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, $15 for these migrants that are coming in on a rotation basis
it's a lot of money.
Serious money that they can send home. They
How
could
many
put
hours can I work?
Oh yeah. They put a roof over the head of a family, put food on the table, send kids to school, and prevent them from migrating to the United States, which is something that we could be much more thoughtful on who we allow in. Usually the breadwinner that comes in that's going to send resources back. And I believe that if you do it orderly it prevents those entire families from migrating to our region.
I agree. So labor's one of them. Let's start working on it. Whatever our organization can do to help you accomplish that, right? Because it's not a one-person thing. It's not a one organization thing. It takes numbers.
Yeah, or one industry even, right?
Correct. Like, understood.
It's construction is one, agriculture, manufacturing, the hospitality business is huge. People who take care of the elderly and children across the country are mostly immigrants. In Washington, D.C., you see a lot of mostly Central Americans walking, babies around in the mornings. And that's who does some of the hardest work in our country. And we should try to find a way for the good ones, people who have proven themselves to be good, to get out of the out of the shadows of the laws of this country and be able to come out and pay their Social Security, pay their taxes, and be contributing members.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It seems like all this seems like very logical,
Doesn't
right?
it?
What's the problem?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you the problem, because when I first got to Washington, I thought guest workers, that's something we used to have. I think that's a very logical idea. And I went to the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. I'll never forget talking about guest worker visas. Boy, they about threw me out of the room for saying that, because we have people on the Democratic side that believe that if we're going to have people work in this country, they should have a definite assurance that they've got a pathway to citizenship. Mm-hmm. That's one side of it, right? Which is an extreme for some of our friends on the other side of the aisle. Then on the other side of the aisle, you have members from certain districts around the country, enough to prevent a bill from passing, that don't want any kind of immigration coming into this country, any kind. And I could tell you, in 2019, we had a massive surge right here in the Rio Grande Valley, and I brought the first bipartisan delegation to the Rio Grande Valley, and we went to the river when people were coming across. It was pretty startling to watch it all. And I'll never forget a friend of mine from a conservative district in Pennsylvania. We're looking at it. I said, if we had a robust guest worker program, everything that we just talked about, I said this would stop, because people could come here in an orderly way, and we'd get labor, and they would get jobs, and we'd be able to vet them and know who they are and everything else. He said, that's not very popular in my district. And I was like, well, it's not. Why not? He's like, people just see that as another way to get in the country. So there are super red districts in this country that don't want any kind of immigration. And that's just a fact. But also the fact is, we can't continue to grow our economy without growing our population, because we cannot. We're maxed out right now. Mm-hmm. Our unemployment, thankfully, is hovering around 4%, which means we can't continue to grow without more people. And we could decide we just want to be a country like Canada, a country this size, and we're just going to maintain what we have, which is not bad, right? But if we want to continue competing with China and Western Europe and other countries, and continue contributing to the North American economic bloc, we've got to get labor somewhere.
Mm-hmm. We got to get population.
We're not having enough kids, right? I'm part of the problem, right?
Oh no, man! I'm Catholic and Mexican, so I'm good.
Yeah.
I got two, and we're done.
Keep going.
You know what I mean? Maybe I need to, fix it and get back at it.
Keep going, man. Keep going. But to answer your question, politics. That's why I didn't get done.
Yeah. When do we get past that?
I don't think ever.
Yeah. We fix things when we're in this country, I always say we don't fix things till they're completely broken. Mm-hmm. But we've also allowed, I believe, in Washington, and obviously now even in Austin, we've allowed both parties to be hijacked by a sliver on the extremes, mm-hmm. the extreme on the left and the extreme on the right. And the unreasonable ideas and requests that come from them. One side could be, let everybody who shows up to the border in and allow them to, for a valid asylum claim, and let them get to court whenever they do. That's one side of it. That's how we got millions of people through the border, right here on our border. And then you have folks on the other extreme that don't want any kind of immigration.
No matter what.
Especially if they're not white.
Exactly. No, yeah. For real.
Right.
That's just how it is. It's still alive in racism, for sure.
Yeah. So, those are the realities we're living with.
So we got labor, right? Check. It's a very interesting topic. Let's talk about interest rate real quick, and please tell the audience, when you go into Congress, you get appointed to certain committees. what committees are you in that align where you can have some insight on the lending industry, the interest rate industry, and things like banking?
Yeah. So I'm actually in that committee. I'm on financial services. We oversee banks and insurance companies and lending institutions of all types and brokerage accounts and Wall Street. And then my subcommittee is capital markets, which is just that, capital markets. And my other subcommittee is national security. So on national security, we look at some of the illicit financing that happens in our country and across the world. We look at some of the hacking that's going on, but we also look at trade-based money laundering that happens on the border and all the kinds of, cryptocurrencies and fraudsters of all types that are moving money around the world through some type of crypto method or some other kind of method. So those are the committees that I'm involved in, and interest rates obviously have risen. The chairman of the Federal Reserve has testified before us several times. He's a professional testifier. He makes sure that you're just as uninformed when he walks in there as when he walks out, right?
or no difference.
Or
worse.
Or
made no
worse.
difference. You get more confused.
He's done it. You're like, what happened, bro? Like, what's going on?
But we're always pushing for, especially members, right? We're pushing for lower rates, and we think it'll loosen the housing market and more credit for folks to kind of keep things moving. There was no sign of that. Now, to make matters even worse, our national credit rating was lowered, as you saw that last week, and that in itself raises interest rates because we become a higher risk. Our federal government's credit rating, kind of like our own personal credit report. When our credit report goes down for whatever risk, the international gods of credit see us as less creditworthy than we were the week before, whether we're spending too much, which is mostly that, right? We're spending too much, we're borrowing too much, and we're not producing enough, and debt and deficit ratio to GDP is a concern for these institutions that set our credit ratings. So they lowered our credit ratings. So what does that mean? That means we are more risky, and people who want to loan us money want a little bit more interest rate from us because we're risky. Just no different than the guy that wants to borrow for.
Yeah, when we do owner financing, buy here, pay here, you take advantage of the situation, basically, I think it is.
That's it. The better credit you have, the better rate you have, the worse credit you have, the more interest you're going to pay.
You're going to pay a premium for it.
And even if they just bring you down a small notch, it's still, to our national debt, it's hundreds of billions of dollars potentially that'll be paid in more interest over the next decade.
Yeah, just a fraction of a percent.
That's it.
When you have trillions of dollars in
36 of them
in debt.
Is that getting away from us?
Wow.
36 trillion.
Are we doing anything to gain any ground on that?
We're not. In fact, we just did the opposite. The big beautiful bill that we just passed.
I wanted to ask
will put us almost $4 trillion over the next decade into debt because they asked us to raise the debt ceiling, meaning allow the federal government to borrow more money, more unsecured money, and so we'll be at $40 trillion in debt, and that's a huge concern unless we can get our obviously our GDP up and start producing more.
Is it? I had heard that the interest that we're paying right now on our national debt is more than what we spend on our national defense. Is that true?
On just on interest, probably. Yeah.
Just on interest.
We have $36 trillion in debt. Even at a very low interest rate, it's still hundreds of billions of dollars.
Yeah.
In tax. Yeah, it's painful, and it's something that we need to deal with. We need to begin by balancing the budget, right? And I support a bill that would force us to balance the budget, to assure that we can't spend. We haven't had a balanced budget since the early 90s.
Yeah.
To assure that we can't spend more than what we bring in every year. And I would say normally, because we're the United States of America and we get to print our own money, and which is also another problem, right? People are using the dollar a lot less these days.
Yeah.
And the United States dollar used to dominate trade around the world. It was at 90%, and then it went down, to 80s, and now it's in the 60s, and it's under even more pressure recently from because obviously the tariff war that just got us in, that we just got into is enticing countries like China and Iran and North Korea, and some of them that are friendlier like India and France, trying to join the bandwagon that, hey, we can't just rely on only the dollar. So what I would like to see is that we balance our budget and keep our economy propped up and keep the dollar strong, but not so strong that that our exports are too expensive, but that we kind of just have a middle of the road balanced economy that keeps.
How do you get that? How does that happen? I mean, it's going to be time, number one.
Definitely time, and when we say tariffs, I don't disagree 100% with the president that there are countries that are taking advantage of us on tariffs. I totally agree with. We just can't take them all on at the same time. And the reason I say that, when tariffs were established 50 years ago, and we did some very favorable deals with China and South Korea and some Latin American countries and some African countries, some European countries, because at 50 years ago and 75 years ago, we were trying to prop up the rest of the world. We wanted to build up their economies so we can trade more with them and make them wealthier. Well, that's already happened. And some of these countries and economies are doing better than us. So there is some adjustments to be made. So not everything that they say in terms of tariff wars are crazy. Just we can't take on 200 countries at the same time. I think we should have chosen 4 or 5 or 10 of them and negotiated them and gotten through them, and then another group, because what I believe when we took them all on, it created an opportunity for China to go around the world and make friends with our friends and say, hey, the United States is really the bad guy, not us.
Yeah.
And they kind of have been able to team up. I think we're there's been a lot of damage control the last few weeks, and I think we're
a lot of
some of it. But
on the back end, I'm hoping, right?
Oh yeah.
Because in the media, it doesn't seem like that.
Right. I always say our diplomats are real professionals, and they're able to keep us out of trouble.
Yeah.
Regardless of who's in charge.
Gotcha.
They're able to go and talk to their friends and embassies around the world that have been friends for 20 or 30 or 40 years and say, hey, this too will pass, and this president will be gone. In fact, some they tell me they call themselves the B team. Be here before you got here, and be here after you're gone.
Right.
There you go.
We ain't going anywhere.
So at the end of the day, what I get from this,
That's a good one.
relationship business.
That's it. Global relationship.
Relationship is at the forefront of any type of success.
Anything.
From business to politics to faith, have a relationship. If you have a relationship, you will get through anything.
I agree.
Right? The B team.
Yeah.
I like that one.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
they're having relationships, and having positive relationship is huge. So how are your relationships at the Capitol?
I've made it a point since I got to Congress to build relationships across the country, but not only that, to build relationships across the aisle. And I have a lot of really great friends on the other side of the aisle. In fact, some of my even best friends that are real friends, whether we agree with each other politically or not, some of my best friends in Congress are Republicans. I'm talking about the kind of guys that I like to go and have a beer with and shoot the shit, right?
Yeah.
Right.
About just everything.
Of course.
And sometimes I'll read like statements that they said or things that they wrote.
And you call them up, right? You're like,
this can't be the same guy I was having. Right? But it is. And
Bro, really?
Yeah,
You know, we just talked about this.
Yeah. And they might think the same about me.
Yeah.
But those are real relationships that you can count on when you really need them, and when there's something critical that you can say, okay, let's get past the bullshit. This is serious, and this is impacting our country, and it's impacting your district and my district and your state and my state and your region and my region, and we need to fix it. And I think those are the kind of relationships you need to build for when things get really serious and you can't play politics anymore, that you got to talk, honestly to each other. And so there's a lot of things that...
Well, let me tell you on our end, making the time for us at the drop of a dime, I don't think he had any struggle trying to get you. It goes a long way for us.
Wow.
Just so you know.
Hey, we're happy to be here.
Your team is awesome.
Your team is awesome. Goes a long way. We've reached out to other Congress people. They have not showed face. They have not returned phone calls.
No.
And I don't care.
You know who you are.
You know who you are, but we won't go into specifics.
We're glad to be here.
Well, you know what, Congressman? To us, it's relationships. I don't care what side of the aisle, but if you're going to be, we're not going to see eye to eye no matter what party you're with.
But no one
on
ever sees eye to
everything.
eye on everything.
Not on
I
everything.
agree.
It's
I
never
agree
going to
with
be. What can you do for my family? Number one. What can you do for our faith? What can you do for our business? That's just how it is. A lot of people in the country live by that, right? God, family, and work. So we appreciate it, and we want to say, how do we extend that to you? What can we do to make things easier for you, to make things easier for us, right? Because it takes time. It takes a lot of
And it takes everybody,
planning.
right? Because these are big deals that we've got to get past, right? Big issues, and so the only way to really get through that, man, we all got to be doing our
United.
part.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think we really, and our country's been divided for
Big
a
time.
few years now, more than I'd ever imagined when I first got to Congress. I certainly believe that we do need to unite our communities and our country, but you start with your community, right? And you start with, a church at a time, a small town at a time, a precinct, a county, and have a united community and build a united state, and hopefully bring our country back together again, short of a war, right? Because whenever we go to war, the country does become very cohesive, and we unite and we get behind each other, and we try to shake things off, right? It happened after 9/11, but we don't want to have to wait for a tragedy to strike for us to get together. I think that we have a lot we have more in common than we do apart overall in the country, and I think that we have a lot that we should be caring about in our country to keep us united. And our foes are not Democrats or Republicans. Our foes are Russia and China and North Korea and Iran and countries that would love to destroy our economy and our military and our way of life.
Yes, sir. I agree with that 100%.
Do you guys feel with your buddies and the guys across the aisle? Is there right now in the political climate? Is there a sense of urgency from y'all's standpoint on where we are as a country, where we're heading? Because prime example, right? We're talking about, well, let's first balance the budget. Let's say we balance the budget. Our debt is so high that, okay, that year we did okay. We didn't spend more than we got. But the debt's still there.
Right, but we can start chipping away at it, right?
Slowly.
And when business is good, we can start chipping away. And I believe if we were really serious about paying our debt, we could do it. First of all, we got to balance our budget. Balancing the budget and start chipping away at the debt. And as long as business keeps going and our GDP stays high, we could really knock it out in a decade or two.
Yeah.
If we're serious about it.
So think about that, right?
Yeah.
This is a 10 to 20 year plan. Even if we start about getting serious about it now.
Right. Oh yeah. It's not going to happen overnight. Just the fact that we have the ability to print money and the world still accepts it as money.
It's a tangible currency.
Yeah, it's very tempting, and that's how we get ourselves in a lot of trouble.
So, Mr. Gonzalez, on the big beautiful bill, can you kind of elaborate on what exactly was just passed? It was passed, right?
Right. So I voted against it, and I'll explain to you why. And there's things that I like about it. I don't think people who live on tips should get taxed, or overtime workers. I think we should give them a tax-free, but the fact is that they cut $500 billion of Medicare funding in this country on that bill. And $500 billion mostly affects senior citizens. Not all seniors, because there's people that receive Medicare that are not seniors, that have some kind of medical illness or some kind of condition that qualify for Medicare. But when you take $500 billion of medical care, mostly on the backs of seniors, out of the economy and out of our country, it's going to hurt a lot of people here in our community. They also took out $400 billion in Medicaid, and here in the Rio Grande Valley, over 26% of all households have someone in the household that relies on Medicaid. That's a lot. That's huge. Then they took $300 billion from SNAP. SNAP is not only food SNAP. SNAP is food programs for kids at school, breakfast and lunch. A lot of our kids, especially here in the Rio Grande Valley, that's the only meal they get. And we know for sure that if you can't eat, you can't think. And you gotta feed our kids that go to school. And it also affects the Meals on Wheels program for senior citizens. So those three programs were very, very impactful. In fact, if it passes the Senate, here in the Valley, we lose about 100,000 people will lose their health care here in the Valley. And in my district and in the adjoining district, we have an average of 100,000 people just in Hidalgo and Cameron that will lose their health care. And SNAP doesn't just affect recipients, it affects our farmers. You know, when you tell the farmers, we're not gonna buy $300 billion of food from you, whether it's meat or poultry or agriculture equipment, it puts pressure on our farming industry also. So it's like it's a full circle. We feed the poor and the hungry, but we also keep our farming industry, which is important to our national security, viable and thriving and doing well.
Which affects unemployment and all. It's
everything.
Just like, it's not just one.
Yeah. Right.
But talk to us about any positive sides. What did you like about
the
Big Beautiful Bill?
The positive side, there's a couple of things. For sure, I think that we should let people who live on tips, it's very few people, by the way, in the whole United States that live on tips, go tax-free. I think we should give breaks to people who work overtime. We have industries that we can't get enough workers, and the only way we can get them is by them having work overtime. And a lot of people don't want to work overtime if they're going to get overtaxed, right?
Yeah,
so that is a huge incentive, especially right now that we have a labor shortage, is to tell people, hey, you want to stay another 10 or 20 hours, and it's going to be tax-free, and you're going to likely get paid time and a half. That's a great deal for a lot of people, and it incentivizes people to work that maybe otherwise would not have worked. So those are the things I like. Now on Medicaid, they want to have work requirements. I'm okay with those ideas because I don't think that we should have lazy people taking advantage of our system, whether it's SNAP or Medicaid or anything else. So I think that some of those rules that are in there to clamp down on some of that, I'm in agreement with. But my biggest issue was hurting senior citizens and children. And also there's funding coming out of some veteran assistant programs. And, as you know, I'm very close to the veteran community. And I think those are the last people that we should be picking on.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
So
what was the reason as to why this was believed to be a positive thing?
So the only way to be able to get closer to balancing a budget and improving our condition is we needed to cut costs, right? And we do, and cutting costs are painful, whether you do it in your household or yourself for the day, or for the state or the country or the
business,
or the city, everything. The business, you got 10 employees, you got to let one or two of them go because otherwise you can't make ends meet. It's painful to tell that one or two person that,
it's
hey,
never
I'm sorry.
happy.
Yes, it's never good. It's never a pleasant experience. But so they took some harsh cuts, but they did them in areas that affect some of the most vulnerable people in communities like ours. And now, on top of that, they asked for a debt ceiling raise. So they're asking, while they're saying we want to cut all these costs, we also want to be able to spend more money on this side, which was the $3.8 trillion. And this came out from the Congressional Budget Office, which is nonpartisan. These guys are just number crunchers. They'll give you good news or bad news to both sides. They've always
how it is.
Yeah, how it is. And they said over the next decade, this bill that we pass will put us $3.8 trillion further into debt.
How? If you're cutting.
Because you're also raising, remember, we're also extending the tax breaks for these billionaires, the ultra-rich, not people with a couple of $1 million, the ultra-rich. These are the people that Warren Buffett says, hey, I'm not paying my fair taxes because of one reason or the other. There's cracks and crevices available to ultra wealthy corporations, and these were sunset to end here coming up soon, and now they're going to be extended. But that's a revenue. I mean, we got two issues. We either spend too much or we don't collect enough revenue. So if we're going to cut expenditures, we also need to raise revenues. But if we're not raising revenues and only cutting expenditures, it doesn't get us to where we need to be.
But then you get into the debate of where is my money going to? Let me give you an example. I want you to call any public office, okay, city, government, and really audit how they do their work. How do you think they do the work? They get paid very well, number one. Great benefits at a cost to who? to these guys, you included,
Yeah.
everybody. Man.
And some are better than others, and some are worse. And,
Yeah, and then I've never had a really good experience on any government stuff, right? When you call and you have to, that's why Doge went in there, right? And they started seeing some stuff, and maybe they didn't make an impact as to the trillions that they were saying they were going to do, but there is a lot of waste, man. All these contracts, like you see things and you're like, wait a minute, you're going to be paying that much more just because it's a government contract where you can go private.
I agree
and
with
go super low.
Yeah, I agree.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's where all these extra
Yeah.
dollars
and
things.
you're saying it from a municipal level. It's all the way to the top, right?
It gets worse at the higher.
Massive
I've seen some
expense
state.
and- yeah.
I had the honor to go to the Capitol, right? And the things that I see and I'm looking at, and it's like, whoa. If you get private industry to start, maybe not overlooking, but if they actually start doing some of these things and make it faster to implement these ideas, I think you can get a little bit more efficient. But that in itself will take time, and then
Yeah, there should be rules that require government to be efficient, right? It's simple things that you do in businesses, like whatever you're going to buy, you're going to you're going to price it out with 3 vendors, and you're going to make sure you're going to look for the best deal. I don't think we do anywhere near enough of that, and accountability, making sure when somebody fills this position that they're the highest and best, most qualified person for that job. We have so much more that we can do, for sure in the federal government. But I go to these local offices, whether it's at the county or at the state or at a municipality, and see it all the time. So yeah, and not only in the United States, around the world.
Like look at these contractors, man. The contractors are the ones who make the most freaking money when they do civil work, or hey, I got a contract with the government. Peachy, well paid, and long contracts where they're a facility. Yes or no, Congressman? They're very well paid and things like that. So all that fluff, bro, is like, let's pretend you did this.
Paying 3 times the amount.
Yeah, dude. Yep. That's just how it works. And
And
then,
clauses where if for some reason things stop, you're still going to be getting paid this certain amount.
yes, sir.
And studies to study the study of the study
Of the
that you
studier.
studied, right? 20 years ago, right? And I've gotten into projects where I'm like, hey, we've been needing to fix this since the 80s or 90s, and we've already studied it. The Army Corps or somebody have already studied. Oh yeah, but that's an outdated study. We got to restudy it. And I'm like, okay, but what has changed? I mean, if you go over there and look at the place, it looks no different than it did in 95. Why are we paying another X millions of dollars? And not just here in Texas or in our region, across the country.
Yeah.
That is happening. So yeah, I mean,
It's a never-ending job,
yeah, it's never ending. That's right.
and you
Hey,
will always find issues. So
I'm
there's
glad,
no perfect.
I am glad out of all this Doge stuff and everything. I think if anything, it served as informing people that hey, there is a lot of waste and abuse. Yeah. Some of it could be exaggerated, and you got to call that
course.
out where it is.
Yeah.
But the fact is, there's a lot of places that we could be cutting costs at every level of government.
Has a dollar amount been put on how much was saved? Does anybody know that?
I'm sure there is, but who knows the real one?
They're still right. That's so true.
Yeah.
Everybody will have a different opinion depending on who you talk
Yeah,
to.
I knew.
And Congressman, I appreciate your honesty, being so candid about even when it's not what the media portrays. You're left or you're right. You're red or you're blue. It's a freaking gang.
That's not
right?
reality.
That's not reality. I appreciate you saying, hey, no, they're right.
Yeah.
And people like honesty.
No.
Yeah. Well, I've always tried to do that, and I said, I never got into politics before I ran for Congress, and when I did, I thought, I wish we didn't have to wear a D or an A or an lapel, right? We should all be wearing just an A for Americans, and being able to go on a political platform and campaign on whatever it is that you want to campaign on, because I could tell you honestly, there's things that I like and there's things that I dislike of both parties. Right? There's things that I agree on with my party, and there's things that I disagree on in my party. And there's things that I agree on and disagree on in the Republican Party. And there's things that I agree on with libertarians, because I think the government should leave us the hell alone on so many things, right?
Yes.
And so I always say, like, the other day I was saying something there, like, you sound like a libertarian. I said, yeah, I guess I kind of am, Like,
In that topic.
right. So it's too bad that they want to pigeonhole anybody running for office.
I'll tell you this, super simple, from the outside looking in. Sorry to interject. Two things. Voters, people, human, like to belong. People, as a human nature, they like to belong. That's that's part of your hierarchy of being positive and not depressed. Right. I like to belong. You like to identify. Number one. Number two, funds. Who am I paying? If you're red, hey, you got all these donors that are red. Go attack. You're blue, you got all these donors that are blue, or attack. Hey, and here are the donors that will go either way, right? Construction, engineers, and things of that nature. I think that's why it is. But we need to have someone like you that ain't afraid to say how it is.
Well, I appreciate
and just be upfront about it, man. Honestly.
That's the only way to be, in my opinion, right? That's
very
the way
good.
I was raised. It's a very South Texas way to be, I think.
Of course.
To be honest with you, right?
Yeah.
Just tell it like it is. I think that's the way a lot of folks down here have been raised. And that's a culture down here, and it's I think it's a good.
It's
good,
great.
You know.
It's great, man. We come from and we talk about this a lot, right? We're very proud to be in South Texas and from the Valley, and there's so much talent here, right? And the way we are raised, the things that you're talking about, the switch between English and Spanish, the way that affects the brain or practices the brain.
Yeah.
Man, we've got some talent down here.
Really
that
cool things, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of great things are happening.
I agree.
And we're on the national radar.
Yeah, good.
Which
Good.
is wild, right?
I love it.
Really cool, yeah.
Yeah, how do we change America from here? And I think we all want to give our part as well, right?
I've brought about 150 members of Congress to the region since I got elected, and everybody goes away just wowed from the region, and there's so many great things and people that I get to brag about every day.
Yeah, I love that.
It's awesome.
Proud of it.
Mr.
Whatever we
Gonzalez.
can do to help.
Hey, thank you.
We are
Thanks a
here.
lot.
Mr. Gonzalez, I recently I heard that you were in El Salvador
I was.
and that you met with the president out there.
I did.
How was that experience?
It's good. So Bukele's a good friend, and so I've met with him. I chair the U.S. El Salvador caucus,
Okay.
and I started that caucus with my friend Matt Gaetz from the other side of the aisle, way on the other side of the aisle, by the way. And I just did a radio show, his TV show. I just went on his TV show about a week ago, the Matt Gaetz show, which is a great show. Y'all should check it out. And see, those are that's the reason he and I may not agree on a whole lot of things, but things we did agree on, and supporting somebody who eliminated a crime-ridden country and turned the most dangerous country in the world to the safest country in the hemisphere deserves praise and deserves support.
In how many years?
It depends who you listen to, but he did it within 5 years.
Think about that, answering your question, bro.
That's great.
Within 5 years, he turned it around. And so I very first met Bukele when he had gotten elected, and but he hadn't gotten sworn in yet. And the FMLN was still in charge, which were the guerrilla fighters during the Civil War. And I went down and I took Sister Norma with me and a couple of people. And I went down and met with them during that period of time. It was super dangerous. We had military taking care of us. Anyway, I was on Foreign Affairs, and Chairman Ingalls said, "Hey, we got the new president of El Salvador coming to visit," and he tells us, "Y'all should come, and I'm going to host him in this little side room of the committee." Well, I get there, and I'm the only one that showed up. I couldn't believe it.
Why?
That was back in that time.
Because nobody wanted to go in the danger
Nobody.
zone.
That was 2019. So anyway, I met with him.
Are you from South Texas?
And we
What's the problem?
Like, bro, I'm from South Texas.
We're used to cross the border. We're used to dealing with some of the things on the other side, right? But we built a great relation since then. And he told me a lot of things that day when I met with him. In fact, I reminded him this last visit. He told me he was completely new, and he went to the White House and took a photo with Trump that time. And I think he wasn't. The relationship wasn't anywhere near what it is today. They took a photo of him, and he wasn't wearing a tie, and the White House wouldn't give him the photo, and because they were upset at him, and I remember calling the White House and telling my friend Adam Kinzinger, believe it or not, I said, "Tell him to give him the photo. I mean, this is the president of El Salvador. Just give him the damn photo." I think eventually they did. But anyway, fast forward 5 years from then, and now you have President Trump doing a state dinner for him.
Yeah.
Right.
And doing all kinds of cool things. So I support Bukele. He turned his country around. He put the really bad people in Secot, which I visited when I was there. And not everybody goes to Secot, but that's the worst. Everybody who's in Secot has murdered at least one person. Most of them, we interviewed a few people. One of the guys that I interviewed had murdered about 50. Couldn't even give me the exact number.
Jesus.
They've raped.
Interviewed him?
Interviewed him. Yeah. We had Time magazine embedded with us, and so I was actually the interviewer because I was a bilingual person.
Wow, that's cool.
And I was the only Democrat on that trip, but had a great trip. Spent a few hours with President Bukele. Met with the Venezuelans that are housed there. We got 253 Venezuelans in Sikot. Now they're under very different conditions than the Salvadorians. He's got 68,000 people incarcerated, which is about 1.5% of the population that was there.
I saw a documentary. Go ahead.
And out of those 68,000, 45,000 will never see the day of light.
Yeah.
And that could shock a lot of the people. But I say, how about, and the human rights activists, and what I say to them is, how about the human rights of the other 98% who couldn't go to the pupusa stand, or couldn't send their kids to school in the morning, or couldn't go to church on Sunday without being raped or pillaged or killed, and kids being recruited into these gangs, and for the first time in history, and for the first time in 2 generations, they're free to walk the streets. It's safer than any country. It's safer than Canada, safer than Costa Rica, and safer than any country in the hemisphere, and people are living free and happy, and the feeling that you get when you visit El Salvador today is very different than when I went on that trip in 2019, I think, with Sister Norma.
Wow.
And FMLN was in charge, and we needed a small platoon to take care of us when we were out there. Things have changed dramatically. Now, he changed the Constitution to run a second time. We did have a conversation about that. You can't be doing that forever, right?
Whoa.
It becomes a dictatorship.
But I do believe that the heavy-handed positions he had to take, and I think without that he couldn't have turned the country around.
Yeah.
So it was a condition, it was a situation that was so harsh that it really needed somebody to come in that had the political will, and also come in very heavy-handed to take on these very organized criminal gangs and get things under control and get the country under control.
Bro, I saw a documentary of Sikot. Is what it's called?
Sikot.
Bro.
Netflix? Where?
Yeah,
They-
we're just
I'll check it
no,
out.
Yeah. No, it was YouTube.
Okay.
Okay.
Bro, they don't even shower. They put the water in a
tub.
like a tub, and you're just like this. That's their shower.
Yeah.
That's all you're going to get.
Yeah. Now, these are the very worst of the
course,
very worst.
of
So
course.
these aren't casual shoplifters. These are
Yeah.
people that have killed many times. They don't. You don't. If you have an MS-13 or a Barrio 18 tattoo, you had to have murdered to have that. But many of them are multiple murderers. I interviewed some. A lot of the ones that I interviewed were in the United States. One of them had been in prison here in South Texas. He came out of Houston. It's at MS-13 Texas. A lot around Virginia, Washington, D.C. area. One was from Boston, different places. And many of them had been deported multiple times and had come back into the United States and had murdered in the
Crazy.
United States. So not all the crazy things some people, my friends on the right, say are not true. So some of them, I say, okay, this is real, and we should be agreeing on this, and we should take positions to support folks like President Bukele in cleaning up what's going on. And I hope that type of stuff carries over to other countries in the region, and I hope to see the day where Mexico is safe and secure.
Oh, my
And
God.
we can cross over like we used to back in the
Yes.
day and have lunch and dinner and take your friends that come down to visit you from up north. I used to take, back when I practiced law, I would take lawyers that would come from all over the country. I would take them to dinner at the end of the day after a deposition or for a cocktail across the border. You can't do that anymore.
No, no way.
So I miss that.
Yeah,
I
same
do.
here.
We were talking about that. You know, we'd go to Monterrey, easy. Like get a
Yeah.
couple of vans. Hey,
2
let's go to
hours.
Sabinas. Hey, let's go. Back and forth, same day.
I hope that we get to live those days again.
Please do something about
How
it.
do you feel about Trump kind of trying to step into Mexico or reference that?
So even though I'm on the other side of Trump on a lot of things, I was talking to somebody the other day in Washington that said, I'm optimistic about a few things. And a few things that I agree with some of the positions Trump is taking, and one of them is border security. I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican. What's happened on our border the last decade
crazy.
was disgraceful.
Yes.
And it shouldn't be a Democratic or Republican thing. It's an American problem that requires bipartisan efforts to fix. And the cartel violence in Mexico, I think Trump is pressuring President Sheinbaum and the Public Security Minister Omar Harfuch to take more action. And I think you're starting to see it, and I hope that they were able to transform that. So that's something that I support Trump on. Those are things that I support him on. Another thing is energy, oil and gas and natural gas. We have a lot of energy, especially here in Texas. We were able to get 2 terminals to export natural gas to the world from the port of Brownsville. We got those permits under President Biden, and I hope that we're able to fulfill the infrastructure and start actually getting this place to work.
I heard they were on hold.
They were because of a litigation, but that's what I'm hoping, that I'm optimistic that under Trump.
I did not know that. When did that happen?
When they were on hold?
Yeah.
Under the Biden administration.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So exports were, LNG exports were on hold, but also the permits that we were able to achieve during the Biden administration went into litigation that I hope we'll be able to overcome now with
Trump.
With Trump in office.
It was litigation with EPA?
It's with EPA and some of these activist groups, the Sierra Club and some of these guys. Also, they had paused that line. We have a gas line from the Premium Basin that is going to export Texas gas through Sonora, Mexico, and that's going to sell Texas gas to the Asian markets, to South Korea, to Japan, to the entire Asian markets, Singapore. So we'll be selling Texas gas through Mexico to Asia here in the next couple of years. Wow. That's going to create a lot of good, high-paying jobs for us.
Yes. Talk to us a little bit about LNG. I know that your district is over there, so tell us about that. What's going on there, and how much more job creations are we kind of looking at?
Yes. So it's really interesting. So we got those permits. We worked really hard to get those permits, especially under a Democratic administration, and we got them like on a Thursday. I'll never forget when we informed them, hey, we got the permits. They were super excited. We got 2 terminal permits, one for next decade and one for Texas LNG. Next decade, I could tell you that we told them on Thursday or Friday, and on Monday they were turning dirt. They were full blast. I had never seen something like that in my life.
We got the permit.
Yes,
We got the permit.
And they haven't stopped since. That's going to bring a lot of jobs, and it's going to bring a lot of high-paying jobs, and it's going to be transformative for the region. And I will almost have the courage to say that I believe it's going to be much more transformative than SpaceX, in the sense that it's selling a natural resource that comes from our state that brings revenue to the entire state, and is not going to go away under any circumstance. And we continue to sell and create jobs, and jobs that rely, and businesses that rely on that industry.
And you know, a lot of the people here in South Texas go upstate to do these jobs, right?
Now they can stay here.
Yes, and they got to buy here now.
That's awesome.
Love it.
Oh yeah,
No.
very good.
Mr. Congressman.
What else do we have coming here in the Valley?
Well,
Anything
let me
that
tell
you
you. Yeah. So there's more. When it comes to the port, we're talking about deepening and widening the port. So these investments are going to transform the port, which is going to allow us to bring cruise ships to the port. It's going to allow us to bring. Right now, we have about 25 decommissioned nuclear vessels from the Navy, and each one is about $1 billion a piece in dismantling.
Wow.
And we are competing right now with Mobile, Alabama, and we're hoping to get some of that business. If we get half of it, that's $10 to $15 billion of business that will come to the port of Brownsville. And when I say it comes to the port, it doesn't come and just stay in that little port. It impacts our entire region. Of
course.
Our entire Rio Grande Valley benefits from that type of
When will they know, or when will we know?
We hope to know about that. I mean, it can't happen until the deepening and widening, but we hope that in the next year or two, those kind of projects are on the horizon. So we're looking forward to that. We're looking forward to maybe a desalination plant at the port that invites more industry, that assures that we have the water we need for population growth and industry growth.
That's huge. That's huge. The
It's
desal.
something,
Have you heard about the desal projects?
No.
So we're short on water.
Yeah.
So desalination is literally that. Get water from the Gulf, desalinate it, and throw it back into. I don't know what type of water
we got
it's
two
gonna
forms
be.
of water. So we can get brackish water that we have underground that flows down.
Which is
into-
dirtier though, right?
No,
and more
it's
costly?
It's
it
actually,
cleaner?
It's cleaner and cheaper.
Got it.
It's the other way around.
It was the other way around.
It's
Okay,
cleaner
got it.
and cheaper, but we should have both. So I tell folks, I know everybody talks about Mexico paying us for water. We should ask Mexico to pay us our water. But if Mexico paid us 100% of the water they owed us today, we would still be down a third of where we were in 1985.
Wow.
So because of climate temperatures, global population demand, industry demand, we would still be down 30% of where we were in the 80s. But if we start now, which we are starting, and we start having brackish water. They call it desal brackish water, but it's not really salty water, but it's less salty. But if we start cleaning our brackish water and getting a program for a future desalination project on the port or on the coast, plus, get our water from Mexico at regular timely payments.
Just a little bit of.
If we do all of that in 20 years, we will never ever have a water shortage again.
Wow. But the time is now.
The time is now.
And we need to start.
That's it. And we are starting.
Very good.
That's awesome.
So
Let
good
people
things
know.
are happening too, right? In the middle of all the complaints.
Yeah, good.
Well, it makes me feel good that we have people like yourself to represent us, and the way that you represent us is it's a very bright light. And I mean, for whatever it means, I just want to say thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you.
For us, it's a big honor to have you here today.
I appreciate it. No, it's an honor to be here.
When are you taking us to Capitol Hill, man?
Hey, y'all come up and I'll be happy to tour you around and show you.
We need to go, bro.
We'll be there tomorrow.
It's a good time. September's a great time. That's Hispanic Heritage Month.
Is it really?
Let's do it.
Great
Let's do
events,
it.
a lot
Why
of
don't we
cool
plan
things.
that?
Let's do that.
September be a good
Hey,
time.
y'all should do it, and we'll do this in Washington.
Let's
do
do
it.
it.
If you can get all the equipment.
You know what? Mario said that last
Podca-
time.
that'll
I
be
thought we were going to
podcast
do this
number.
in Washington, dude.
him,
What's going on?
I was like, let's do the podcast in Washington. And then your team reached out to me, and they were like, hey, we can actually do it in the Valley, so y'all don't have to come out here or
but
whatever.
we'll do the other one. We'll find a nice spot somewhere. And
Let's
Let's
do
do
that.
it.
and
Yeah,
do it.
That'll
that'd
be
be
good.
awesome.
We'd love
That'd
to
be
do it.
awesome.
Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Congressman.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Appreciate you.
No, thank you for coming on. Do we have people? So we like to do like a raffle, and we raffle. We used to do these every week, and now we're having our podcast. Let's say once every 2 weeks, just depending how the schedule's moving. And we usually raffle a $200 gift card.
Okay,
To what we ask from our listeners is for them to like the podcast. They like, comment, and share, and then that puts them in a raffle.
Cool.
So that's our little wheel there.
Nice.
Mr. Ulises put that together. All you have to do is press the spin button, and then
spin button?
yes, sir. It's right in the middle. You just press that button, the one where it says
Oh,
spin.
that one. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Sorry.
And then you can hand it over to Ulises, and then he'll show it. He'll show it there to see who. I think it says Brian Barbosa
Brian Lee Barbosa.
with that's
that?
Vaquero Stone.
Is he?
Nice.
Peace, bro.
There you go.
Congratulations. Hit me up. Text me. You got my number.
Cool deal.
Congratulations. But Mr. Gonzalez, thank you once again.
Hey, thanks a lot.
This was very informative.
It was
We'll
great.
be there. We'll be there in September.
Yeah,
we'll,
definitely.
We'll make it work. We'll book it already.
No, we're doing it.
Yeah.
we're doing it. We'll come with a list of questions. We'll get with the organization and all the stuff that's important to us. We'd
happy.
like to get some more feedback
Be
from them.
happy to do it.
We'll
Good
definitely like to have a round 2 of this.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And everyone, thank you for joining us today. Be safe. Thank you to Julio for showing up today, another guest on our podcast. And thank you, Ronnie, for coming today.
course. Always.
Rock and
Thank you,
roll.
guys.
Yes.
God bless.